Hey YouTube, in my last video we did a little section. Sorry for this rough look, this is my morning get out of bed. I was quite late in getting into bed, only because I was working last night, and so this is my bedhead kind of look. In the last video I showed you a technique called frequency separation, and if I quickly run through that again, you'll see how we went about getting this. So we duplicate the rares. Now, frequency separation, a recap in the last video, it essentially separates the color layer of the tonality of the image from the texture layer of an image. And so in this image here, for instance, if we come up close and personal, this is model Melissa from Edinburgh, who I worked with last week. Now, I'm looking at just this highlight area here, and this is just, it could be makeup, it could be skin, it could be a throwback to acne or something that's been there years before, and it's just a little bit texture on the skin. It's fine. Everybody's got some kind of texture on the skin, and likewise here on our cheeks. And wherever you get a bit highlight, you'll see that texture more apparent. Poor Melissa had a little cold sore on her lip, and when I do the full edit on this portrait, that cold sore will be no more. And so with frequency separation, we separate the color. And again, when I go back in close here, you'll see if we look at the cheek here, there's a bit pink sort of area here, and there's a little lighter area here. And this was pretty much at the start of the shoot, and we had quite a lot of makeup going on after this. So this was kind of just a stripped back version of photo that we took. So this side of the cheek here, for instance, is darker than sort of the area right beside it. This part here of the chin is a little bit sort of more pink than this little area here. These are all fine. It's all perfectly natural. But when we go into frequency separation, we can separate the color layer from the texture, and we can smooth out the transition of any color. So it'll be almost unnoticeable. And we're not trying to make it a flat color. We're just trying to really smooth out any transitions, and we can do any color corrections there. And then on the texture layer, where you get little bits like this or this little bit down here, we can fix this just these little just minor blemishes. But if we're wanting to get this image looking as good as it could do, then we will fix that on the texture layer. So the way we go about doing that, and which I showed you in the last layer, we duplicate these layers. So we go Control and J and Control and J. I don't bother naming them. I always layer the one layer. You can name it anything you want, basically. Just I'll call it ref because it's really just to give yourself a reference at the sort of next stage. And on this layer here, we go filter. We'll turn the top layer off, it'll be easier to see. We go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And let's just take it out a bit so I can see where we are. So if we got up here to the cheek, but you can see it quite clearly here, there's a difference in colour there to here. So we want to blur enough to zoom in a little bit more on this. We want to blur enough where you can't see any hard edge in the transition between the two colours. So we'll go in a little bit more. It's usually about 8, 10 pixels, something like that. It can be a bit more. And you can see we're just starting to hit that there. That's about 13. Maybe just a little bit too much there. So let's just settle on 10. It's a nice round figure. And you can see that there is difference in colours there, but there's no hard edge to the transition between the colour. And that's what we're trying to achieve. So if we click OK there, and you can go up to 15, you can do just whatever. Every image will be different, so whatever works best for your image. And then on this top layer, we make it visible again, and we go up to image, apply image, and our source is there. You see that number up here, that matches our source. Our merged layer is going to be the one that we called ref. So click on that, and our blending mode is going to be subtract, which is way down at the bottom here. And the scale is always going to be 2 and offset is always going to be 128. See, I never made up these settings, somebody else did. I don't know how they worked it out, why they would have went this route to get there, but it's a standard used now across any retouching for portraits. All the model agencies, they all use the same sort of version of this, or a slightly different one of this. Anyway, so once we've got to there, we then come over to here, and the blending mode for the layer. So at the moment it's at normal. We want to change it to linear light. And there we go, and that's us back to the start. This is the first step in your frequency separation. And here's where we would then go in here, and we can, and essentially what we're going to do is add another blur on top of this blur here in order to get to the effect we want. And I'm just going to do a very small sample of this because this video is not really about frequency separation as such. So for instance here, we'll take this as the more texture viewable on this area. So we just take a big area here and we'll do the same over here. You could do these one section at a time, one little bit at a time, just whatever suits your image. Just take a nice big selection there. And I've got a feather here of 28. The feather is needed because you're going to merge different parts. So control and hash. Somebody's just going to come into my house and make this 20. Click OK. And there, that's how it works. Okay, so the reason for this video was not to show you the whole retouch. If you want to see how we do the retouch after we've done this process, look at the last video. It was a full 1 hour long edit. We'll show you how we got rid of the cold sore on the lip, the eyes, face, the whole lot. This video is to show you how we can make an action. And to do frequency separation as an action, rather than, now if I show you this folder here, we've got 200 and odd images in this folder, and if I was to do that process as slow as that is at the start of every one of these, then it would take forever to do editing. So for the frequency separation part, then make an action. So how do we do it? This is how we do it. We come down here and it says this is a create new action. So let's show you where this is if you've not already got it. So go up to window. If this is unchecked, go up to window, go to actions, this bit here, and you'll get the actions panel. It'll show up maybe slightly different on yours, just depending on how you've got it set up. It'll show up as a little, like the little play icon on a recorder. So if you click that, it opens the actions panel up. And you want to come down to the bottom here, and this one here says create a new action. So if you left click that, now as soon as you left click that, everything you do after this is recorded. So we've already got an image open, so that's fine. So give it a name. I'll call mine frequency 2 because I've already got one. And we're not giving it a keyboard shortcut. You could do all that here if you wanted, but we're not going to, so we'll just hit record. So that's it. It's now recording everything I'm doing here. So let's just close this panel out the road just now. So that we're going to duplicate the layers. So Control and J and Control and J. That's both layers duplicated. You now turn off the visibility of the top layer. We come down to the middle layer. Now, if you name the layers, they will be named every time you run this action. So it's entirely up to yourself. I always name one of them just for reference. So I'm just going to call it reference. You don't have to. You can call it whatever you want. But it's just so you can refer to it when you run the action. So this layer here, and I'll go through filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I'm not using keyboard shortcuts simply because not everyone's going to have them. And it's going to, this will, whatever your last blur layer was, it will come to that. I think a good place to start is about 15. And 15 doesn't work for the image you're working with at the time, you can always add a little bit more to that individual image, but I've tended to find it's a good starting place, 15. So click OK. Then make the upper layer visible by clicking the little eye icon. Make sure the upper layer is highlighted. Go back up to filter. Sorry, go up to image. Come down to apply image. And make sure you select that layer, even though it's already selected because it was the last action I did. And make sure you come down here and select subtract. Make sure this is saying 2 and this is saying offset 128 and click OK. And come over to the layer styles drop down and come down to where it says linear light, and you can now highlight the middle because that's the next one you're going to be doing. Save yourself a click in real time. That's your action recorded. So go back up to the actions panel, click the little play button again, and the record is highlighted. So we want the one next to that, which is a stop. Click stop, and boom, there's your action there. And there's all the steps within that action. So you can close it up. You don't need to have it all highlighted. If you highlight it once now, let's get rid of this stuff here just now. That's frequency 2. So we'll get rid of these two. Now, one thing you should be aware of, if you have a background layer there, and just say for instance, if you got rid of the padlock of it, your action will see that as being different. So the action will fail. You want to, this is the state your first layer needs to be in. So if we close this, say no, and that's the one I just did a minute ago, so we'll say no to that one. We'll go back in here, but it doesn't really matter what image we're taking, but I'm going to be editing this one. So open it up, click OK. Now if you do lots of filters on yours and you want to create this as being a smart object or something like that, if you did that at this stage, or if you do it from the raw open, then this action will not work. You have to create another action for that. But again, now we go into the actions panel. We're not recording, we're now going to play that action. So we hit the play. And it was frequency 2. So we need to find frequency 2 and amongst our, which is this one here. Highlight it and hit the play button. And we can close this here now. And there you go. And there's that part of it has been taken out. So if you've got 20 images open and you want to quickly run through that, that is now in a state that I can go straight in and edit the skin on it rather than having to go through that step-by-step process all the time. It took 2 seconds to run that action. So that's how you make an action in Photoshop. Hope it helps. If you're doing lots of retouching, you'll find that a bit of a time saver. Thanks for watching.